so much soul. About to bust out the room. All different flavors, way more than 32. From these shoes, you can't mess with these dudes. Nike Reeboks, about soccer knees. Golden Gooses on dudes, it's crazy. Converse can laugh, make like easy.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Soul Brother, hosted by yours truly, Flex Luther. And today, guys, we are blessed with a guest. What's up? What's new? And how you feeling, my guy?
Man, appreciate you having me on, Flex. Everything's good. Life has been good. I really don't even have any opportunity to complain. I appreciate the invitation to be back on. So I'm excited to be here and, have the conversation. Let's do it.
I like it, man. Like you said, man, you're back here, so this is not your first time here, man. Not a lot has changed, but in a good way, man. You still killing it, still putting on the fire fits, man. So, yeah, it was a no question, man. I had to have you come back. You had some news pop out a little, earlier this month, so we wanted to talk about that. But we're here to talk sneakers and much more.
Yeah, I'm down, man. Listen, let's get into it. I'm ready for it.
I like it. So let's start, man. What'd you have on feet today?
On feet today, I had on the Kids of Immigrants.
Yes,
Thunder, like Air Max Thunder. So if you see my outfit, I'm sure you can take a wild guess as to why these were on feet today. Love these shoes. These shoes actually got me the Nigel Brick After Brick 4s. Shouts out to the Survival of the Fitted competition through the Nike Sneakers app. We did that for Air Max month.
Mm-hmm.
There were like 3 different categories. Shout out to Tajon. Shouts out to John Atlier. Everybody that participated from Atlanta in the competition. But it was basically just a competition between like different styles or silhouettes of shoes. So I was in the Icons division. So that included Sunders, DN8s, and the Muses. So those were the 3 in my division. There was an Air Max 95 division as well. And then I think there was also one other division. I'm trying to remember what the other one was. But either which way, it was just different divisions dedicated to celebrating different models of the Air Max. So shouts out to Nike for selecting me. And shouts out to you guys for voting because it was a votable contest.
Yeah.
And I walked away, I think, from mine with like 54% of the vote for my division, something close to that. So, and that was out of 6,000 votes, if I remember correctly. So I'm sure the internet will fact correct me if I was wrong. But either which way, really cool competition happened over the course of a couple of days. Was blessed to participate, blessed to win. And yeah, these are the shoes I was actually wearing in the photo that people were voting on. So it's one of my favorite shoes. I didn't just wear it for that. I actually genuinely like wearing the Kids of Immigrants sneakers in general. I think it's a great message, great brand, and they deserve all the flowers. I love what they're doing.
For sure. Man, clean pair, man, clean fit. I seen you on the app, but this is definitely not your first time on the app, right? This is what?
No, so the last time I was on the app was actually for Sneakers Live Heating Up. Shouts out to Jamerson and Tiana for that. They were doing that whole segment. I really felt like Nike, y'all need to bring that back and bring it back with Jamerson, with also with Tiana, and then the whole squad. I feel like that live programming was cool and something I look forward to during the week. So I feel like there's other people out there that feel the same. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. And on that particular episode, I was wearing the Air Force One Lemonades, and it was like me and another person going against each other. It was the Nike Sneakers Live fit check or sneakers check or something like that. So Lil Yachty was the guest judge. So it was between me and his name is Stone Cold Steve, I think, on IG, but we ended up becoming good friends afterwards. But I ended up winning, and that's where it's real cool to just have a good relationship with people in the community, because we ended up just getting cool afterwards, even though I won the battle. But I feel like that's what it's all about. Like we buy shoes because we like them. We put the fit together. But that was definitely a cool moment because Yachty gave me the cosign on the fit, and he said I look like Cameron. So that was funny, just to say the least. But it was cool. Like I think that was last year. I want to say that was like close to the beginning of last year, 2025, because I think Sneakers Live has now been off the air for about a year now. Could have been 2025, may have been 2024. These last couple of years have been mixed up. I don't know what it's been. I think since COVID, my sense of time is just not really what it should be.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely not my first time. I've been featured on the app a couple of times. I think when they did the Legends Night, when they came through for the Dion's, I was
Hmm.
featured for that as well. So, me and Nike have me and the Nike sneakers app from a being posted on it perspective have a great relationship. Winning raffles
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
draws, not so much. But I love the brand either which way. You be in this long enough, you take many L's, you take many W's.
Charge
It
it
all
to the
kind of
game,
averages.
man. Yep.
Yeah, it averages out in the end.
Yeah. Now, I know I 100% know that I asked you this question last time you was here, but
Mhm.
for the people that wasn't listening the last time you was here, what is the recipe, man? What is the recipe when you're putting on this fit, you're getting ready? What is the recipe? Walk us through that?
I mean, I've always told people because some have this feeling that we have to gatekeep pieces. I've always
Mm-hmm.
felt like this, right? It's like when you approach cooking. When
Mm-hmm.
you're in the kitchen, I could tell you how to make Alfredo sauce, but how you measure, how you cook, what tools you use, what temperature you set the oven on or your
Yeah, I
stovetop,
like that. I
all of
like
those
that.
things are going to be unique to you. And that's going to determine how your Alfredo comes out. Now, don't get me wrong. There are companies like Coca-Cola where their formula is a trade secret because it's how it keeps them in business. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not always going to come out front and just always say, hey, this is exactly what I would do and how I'm going to do it. The purpose of my outfit content is to give inspiration for those that think my outfits are cool enough to want to emulate or do anything in
Mm-hmm.
some way, shape, or form. So I think the ingredients really are just learn color. Like really look at the color wheel, understand it. Like in this outfit I have on right now, you have a muted, almost like mauve. You have gray, you have black. This is a very colorful shirt. And
Mm-hmm.
most people would look at it and say the shirt looks cool, but I'm afraid of what I could put with it. So, they have the mules that came out, which is a much more toned down, shoe choice than what I picked, which was the Sunders, where the whole upper is gradient. It's an ombre effect. So
Mm-hmm.
I think as I've gotten more into fashion and more into just figuring out what my sense of style is, I've become a student of color. I think when you understand adjacent colors, complementary colors, triadic color schemes, you really learn the color wheel and understand, then you can play with different stuff. Like clearly in this outfit, this shade of yellow that's in the sunglasses isn't the same as this. This is in the check that's on my arm. But
Yeah.
corresponding, it's not matchy. Like I don't have to wear an ombre beanie because I'm wearing this, because I want the eyes to go from top to bottom of the outfit. I want it to
Mm-hmm.
be aesthetically pleasing. So I think that if more people studied how to put color together, I think that
Mm-hmm.
fashion and things like that would be in a better place, because then we're not always relying upon grays or blacks or whites or neutrals essentially to keep outfits afloat and keep them going. I think that that's kind of the thing that I look for now. I look for people that love to unapologetically play with color, throw little pops of things in there that you wouldn't expect. I think that those are the people that I look at from a style perspective. Really can You
Mm-hmm.
can emulate the ingredients, but how you put it together with that color theory is the thing that really can that can make a simple fit look extremely
Mm-hmm.
astronomically better than just matching from head to toe. That my personal opinion.
I like it, man. I like it.
Hmm.
What I wore today, I went with the Royalty Retro 12s. We got these
Hmm.
before we got the retro of the Taxi 12s that we just seen here recently.
Hmm.
Um, my one of my top five, if not my number one shoe in my collection, is my Taxi 12s. So when I
Hmm.
seen these, I was like, yeah, at that time we didn't have a retro for the taxis besides the one that
Hmm.
I had, which is the 2013 pair. So this was the
Yeah.
closest thing to it, and I
Yeah.
was looking at my 12 yesterday, and I was trying to get some pictures off and stuff like that, and so I still got them. I haven't put them up yet, so I still got them hanging around. So I was like, you know what? I grab these and wear these today.
Yeah.
But
No, I
yeah,
think
that's that.
the royalties, like what they did with the wings, the Master 12s, at one
Hmm.
point, I felt like there were a lot of really good releases in there. Granted, they were non-retro, so they were not OG
Hmm.
colors, but I think every now and again, I think Jordan gives us something that, even though it wasn't an original colorway, it's really
Yeah,
good.
for
Like
sure.
I look at 11s as a prime example of that, like the 72 and 10s, or the
Hmm.
premium all gray, not the
Yeah,
cool grays, but the ones that came in
yeah. Know what you're talking
I
about.
think that I can't remember. They weren't Pigalle. I'm trying to remember what exactly the name of them was,
I
but they were
can't.
premium.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what they were, but somebody here correct me, but I feel like for the most part, that all gray suede upper with like the milky outsole and then the white
Mm-hmm.
midsole, that those were shoes that to me, like, yeah, it looks like a cool gray, but when you can really appreciate the side by side differences, it was a different shoe all in itself. And then even the
Mm-hmm.
72 and 10s, I feel like that was a shoe
For
that
sure.
non-retro, but haul tumbled throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Again, milky outsole, white midsole. That was just a
Mm-hmm.
very very clean shoe. I love that shoe. I would. That was probably one of my favorite non-retro 11s that I owned at the time because I ended up selling them. But that's probably a
Yeah.
shoe I would love to get back. I would love to get
Yeah,
my
man.
70s back.
I love the like the iridescent sparkle that they had
Mm-hmm.
within the patent leather. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love
Very
that
clean.
pair. Yeah.
Very clean.
And the premium was the Pinnacle Gray.
Pinnacle. Okay,
That's
yeah. I was
Pinnacle
like,
Gray.
that's wrong P word. I said Pigal. Should have said Pinnacle.
Nike and Jordan sometimes do provide us with some, some classics that wasn't OGs or we haven't seen retro. I know earlier, like I feel like in the early 2010s or and before that, anything
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't OG was just like, yeah, you can go ahead and throw that to the back. But I
Yeah.
feel like we've learned to embrace these non-OG colorways and these new silhouettes, and so it's a new
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, even recently, like Bloodlines, bro. Like Bloodlines sold out on release day on sneakers, which was crazy to me. But that's the Roman Reigns effect. Clearly, people,
I
people.
feel say, yeah. I wish they would have like hone more into that. Maybe some
Mhm.
small details, just something, man. Like, I mean, dude's on fire right now. Like that would have
Mhm.
perfect,
And it fits
marketing.
into his arc. I mean, right? It fits
Yeah,
into his arc. We talk
yeah.
about
Mm-hmm.
the OTC, the tribal chief, like
Mm-hmm.
all that's family tree bloodline. It made
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So I was hoping that, have like a little small detail to him, acknowledge him somewhere in the tongue or something, something just
Yeah,
small that, but they didn't. I think all they did was, I think they did hand deliver him a pair.
they
I
did. Yeah, for
do.
WrestleMania, they did. They
Yes,
gave him those and then some custom boots that I think he wore in ring, en route
yeah.
to the championship. So yeah, no, I mean, listen, he's done broke out a lot of things like the world's best
Mm-hmm.
dad. He's wore the Virgils. He's worn
Mm-hmm.
Levi's, with the whole Levi Jordan apparel capsule. Like, bro,
Mm-hmm.
he's smooth with it.
Yeah, yeah. I wish they would have honed more into it, man. But
Mhm.
what has changed, man, since the last time you've been here? Give us some updates. What's new?
No, man. Well, a lot's changed. A lot more opportunities to do
Mm-hmm.
content. I've recently done some content with a Japanese airline. So if you've heard of ANA Airlines, I did like a whole content series for them.
Mm-hmm.
I've done work with Adidas and Retail Me Not ahead of the World Cup. So that was pretty cool. And then, obviously I'm naming the other things before the big thing, which is,
Yeah.
I recently accepted a full-time position with StockX. I'm now the social media manager for StockX. So I control all the channels from Twitter to Instagram to YouTube to TikTok, you name it. I'm probably have my hand in it somehow, some way, as far as just how the page is curated, run, and content is
Mm-hmm.
produced. So that was something I've been working on for a while. I, applied for the job, this year and just was kind of just trying to see what could really come of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously we made the announcement via the StockX page. Super grateful that the team, saw the skills that I could bring to the table, to the role. I think that I just finished my first 30 days not too long ago. So I think that everything that we've been doing is positive and progression of us being, thought leaders and just moving in the space appropriately and just tapping in with culture. That was a lot of what I feel like brands should be doing. We need to
Mm-hmm.
be amongst the culture. I think that culture and community always there seem to be buzzwords that come up when brands want to sell things. And I think
Yeah.
that when you make those intentional deposits into communities, when you do things, when you talk, when you show up at events, I think all of that stuff matters. So, I think working with them as a creative on the outside and then now coming on the inside, it's the same energy. Just the difference is now I get to really be inside of an organization and try to take my skills and expertise and push it towards us being able to do things together.
Yeah, I like it, man. So like where does that put you mentally, man? Like it's been a little over a year since the last time you was on the pod, and now, you pushing out all these brand deals. You just got this new job. Like where are you at, within like mentally in your creative space?
I think mentally, I'm just grateful. I think
Mm-hmm.
when you have this level of opportunity and chance, it gets really easy. I think some people get a little bit of arrogance. It's like,
Yeah.
oh well, I'm supposed to have this. I approach every opportunity like, hey, I still got something to prove. I still have to show that I have it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that just keeps me humble. It keeps me in a space of just not taking anything for granted. I mean, I think that social media is a fickle place because it's comprised of people. And what do we know about
Mm-hmm.
people? People's favorites, their ideas, their preferences, all that stuff changes. So today you could be the next best thing to sliced bread. Tomorrow people are on
Mm-hmm.
to the next thing. So I think the humility that you have to show to continue to keep yourself in that mind frame of just being hungry, and then
Mm-hmm.
also being a bridge builder. So for me, I look at what are opportunities and chances that people that did take a chance on me, that did help me out, what are some things that I can do from just an independent content perspective? Like, what can I provide? I don't believe in using the word mentorship because I think I'm still growing, but
Yeah.
what lessons learned can I share? What are some things I can really do to encourage someone that's coming against a challenge? Like, I think when I was talking on the pod, like, yeah, I think people saw what I had going on. They're like, man, it's so great, it's so awesome. But there are times where you have doubt. There's times where you're not sure if you're
Mm-hmm.
doing the right things or where your path is going to lead you. So I think that that's also just as important. You need to have a community of people around you that are encouraging you to say, hey, listen, like, be consistent. Don't feel like because today you didn't have a viral post, that means that you're not worthy or your creativity isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in life requires some level of persistence, some level of consistency combined with a high level of quality. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
willing to be consistent, but you have high quality, people lose interest. If you're being consistent, but the quality isn't the greatest, then people don't really have anything to hang their hat on about you. So I think it's all
Yeah.
like a symbiotic relationship. You have to hit all those pillars. And I think that when people ask me or say things to me like, man, I want to do what you do, I don't ever tell a person you don't, in a sense of from a propensity or an ability to, because I think anyone can. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just the level of intentionality, the level of attention to detail you need to have, and the coachability you need to have to be able to say, hey, if someone brings me a good idea, how do I integrate that into what I'm doing? And I think a lot of people don't contemplate and think about that. A lot of times they're just looking for the easy button. What can I press to get where I need to go? Versus creativity is a lot of trial and error. I didn't like talking in front
Mm-hmm.
of the camera. To like short form video, I hated it. I loved
Yeah.
photo. I don't have to talk to anybody. I could just get fly and go sit in the corner somewhere. But
Yeah.
I had to get over that, and to the point now where I'm doing like talking head content about things I think that are funny or things that I think that are cool, and I'm not pressing the button. It's just naturally coming to me. I apologize for those that are watching. They're like, "Where's the next Thoughts with Tef episode?" It's not. I don't look at it as a schedule. It's just the thoughts got to
Mm-hmm.
come to me, and when it does, it does, and when it hits, it's genuine. So I think that, like I said, I think the first time I was here, authenticity wins every time. If
Yeah.
you're authentically yourself, if you're creative, if you're consistent, and you believe in producing a level of quality that you can maintain, anything is achievable and possible. But I think that's why I tell people you may not want to do what I do, because I really, I want to win, and winning to me isn't just a singular act. It's a consistent act. It's a deliberate
Yeah.
decision to wake up every day and say, hey, what can I do to be better? And that's a level of introspection that is difficult, because how do you
Mm-hmm.
get better when you don't feel like there's anything for you to improve on? Which is where I go back to being coachable. So I think that the mindset I'm in right now is I'm super grateful and thankful, to StockX for taking the opportunity to bring me on and believing in my skill set to be able to do what I'm doing now in my role. But I'm also like, hey, I want to win there too. I want us collectively as a brand to win. So what are things that we can really do, to continue to move the needle and push the envelope on that. And that's really
Mm-hmm.
what's important, to me. That's what makes what I do, I think, special, is I can see in real time how we touch, change and move perspective about ourselves or brands, in real time. So, I'm honored to be able to do that and do it for a organization and a brand like StockX.
Yeah, man. You spoke on, consistency and staying
Mhm.
dedicated. I can't tell you how many times I'm looking back at something. I'm like, dang, like if I would have gave up then, I would have never got here. I would have never got this opportunity, and then in that moment, you just like, what do I do next, And then you just like, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna keep on pushing. I'm just gonna make this content. I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna record this episode. I'm gonna do what I can, um, and then move forward. And then you move forward, and you looking back like, man, if I would have gave up then, I would have never got here. So that
Yeah.
consistency is not just being consistent. There's a lot of other things that fall behind it. That consistency word, there's a lot of stuff behind it. Getting up when you don't want to get up, doing things you don't want to do to continue being consistent. So
It's
definitely.
crazy. I mean, to your point, a saying I hear all the time is, or I heard a lot at the time growing up is, why give up when today could be the day that I win?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe that consistency sometimes is show up as you are, show up
Yep.
frustrated. There's no
Yep.
law that says you can't be frustrated. Shoot, I'd be frustrated too if I was putting out what I thought was great content and people aren't interacting
Mm-hmm.
with it. But perspective changes, right? So you have to think of, what can I control? I can't make people like my stuff. I
Yeah.
just have to keep showing up as myself. And, the people and the groups and your followers, your fans, whatever you want to call them, that are around, you have to build community with them, because that's how community grows. Think about when you
Yep.
give anybody a great restaurant review, right? Or say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you got to go here. That's word of mouth. They have web pages, they have Yelp, they have all these other things, but all those things have reviews. So it's testimonials. So people are giving you an idea of what they experienced when they came to that establishment. I look at social media the same way. What makes your restaurant, your page, your content recommendable to someone else? And that's where you intrinsically find the value. Like, okay, I used to, one thing, funny we're having this conversation. The one thing someone had told me once was, everybody does fashion. So what makes you any different? And at the time, it was a very legitimate question. What
Yeah.
makes you different? And if I was in my mind of, yeah, they're right, I would have let it go and just said, oh, everybody, like, there's German, UK accounts, Congolese or African accounts where, like, these guys are getting hundreds of thousands of followers and they're working with Boohooman, or they're working with Sheen, or they're working with Fashion Nova. Like, what can I offer? But what I did was I offered what I have, which is, I love shoes. I love fashion. I love getting fly. I'm from the South. So then I started to be coachable. Well, what really goes into getting fly? Like, it's like styles
Mm-hmm.
of martial arts, like the Avatar. Like, you gotta master the elements. Like, okay, there's fitted hats, there's pillbox hats, there's crop
Mm-hmm.
t-shirts, there's jerseys, there's smart casual looks, there's loafers. So eventually I got to that place where I just wanted to master as much as I could, which goes back to just being coachable. So every look may not be for you, but you won't
Mm-hmm.
know that unless you try. And I think that that's the thing that, if there's one thing that I wish that newer creators would learn, is chalant. Do a lot of chalanting. Care. It's
Yeah.
cool to care. It's 1000% cool to care. I think Michael Jordan cared every time he stepped on the basketball court because he wanted to be his best. Any
For
great
sure.
person, Tom Brady, Serena Williams, Flo Joe, Cheryl Swoops, I mean, you run down the list. All those people cared. You know what I mean? So I
Mm-hmm.
think we have to get to that point of caring, and then that caring motivating how you're going to put those 10,000 hours in so that you can be the best that you can be. I think that that's what this chapter of my journey is about, is I'm still putting in those hours. Even though
Mm-hmm.
people see the success, it's like, I'm still putting in the hours, I'm still studying, I'm still
Mm-hmm.
acting like I don't have it. Not because I'm trying to purposely act like I'm not good, but you have to keep that hunger, because that's what helps
Yeah.
you learning and be better. So, yeah.
I want to focus in on showing up as you are.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people and myself included, there's times
Mm-hmm.
where like I don't want to post something because I see something and I see something wrong with the content, or there's just something wrong. I'm like, I don't want to, or I don't want to record this week, or I don't want to post these pictures that I took because of the way it look or whatever.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, like you gotta stay consistent. You gotta post something, and it's I always feel like once you lose that thought of putting, overthinking, not
Yeah.
the work you put in, continue to put that work in, but when you're overthinking things, I feel like that's when it's like a double-edged sword. Like it's pushing you to be a perfectionist, but at the same time, it's stopping you from growing and actually taking those opportunities and taking those risks. Like the picture that I did with the J Tip shoes, like a bouquet of flowers. Like I hated that picture. I did not want to post that picture at all. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of my best performing posts in general on my page. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, that I would have never posted that picture like if I would have just been like, I don't like this, the lighting's off, the color here is wrong, like I just don't like this picture and I don't want to post it. But someone's just
Mm-hmm.
like, man, took this much time on it, put this much thought into it, just post it,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever happens, man. This is something you created, and you can only get better from here.
Yeah.
And then crazy is, like I said, that post best performing post on my Instagram to this date. So
Oh yeah.
definitely, show up as you are, man. Post that content and stop
Mm-hmm.
overthinking, and be yourself. And separate. You can separate yourself by being yourself. Like your question,
Mm-hmm.
everybody does fashion, but what makes you different? You being
Yeah.
yourself. That's what makes you different because nobody is you. Everybody's individual in their own unique way. So that's what separates you from everybody else that's doing the sneaker content, that's doing the sneaker podcast, that's doing the fashion, that's doing the sneaker reviews. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you be yourself and create your own personality, then people are going to gravitate to you because you can provide that because that's your personality. And I feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
where we get lost because we're like, well, I want to be like the Winonas and the Selfs, and I want to do this, and like I'm gonna put this in here and make it look like that. And then she's like, well, Self's already doing that. Winona's
Mm-hmm.
already doing that. So like, why am I gonna come to you because you're doing it now? So, and
Mm-hmm.
that was something that I had to keep in my mind. Like, I see sneaker podcasters doing this, and I'm like, all right, now I could do this because it's working, it's successful. I can see that they're doing it, or I could
Mm-hmm.
create my own thing, and then the audience that gravitates towards me are coming there because of what I created myself, and not because, oh, well, this is trending right now. Because
Mm-hmm.
you can have these guests on, and like one of my goals for my pod moving forward is being able to like have these solo episodes more often, because I've noticed that like when you have the guest on, the episodes do very well, but a lot of those people are coming to see the guest. So you'll have this large, number of people come in for the guest,
Mm-hmm.
but the real goal and job and task is, how am I going to keep these people here after that guest leave? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How am I going to keep them continue listening to the Soul Brother podcast after the guest is no longer here? Because they're not going to be on next week, and that's who they came to see. So you have to create
Mm-hmm.
something to where like, all right, well, I enjoy that conversation that you had with this person, so I want to know what it's gonna be like with the next person. Or if there's a solo episode that he has, and I want to hear his thoughts and his commentary and his feedback on certain things. So yeah, be
Yeah.
yourself out there, man.
Definitely.
Um,
It pays the bills. It pays the
uh,
bills.
so now that you're in a space where you've been your own brand for so long, and
Mm-hmm.
now you're like in the front line of this huge company.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about representing your individual voice?
I think that's the one thing that I did like about StockX is that they respected my autonomy as a creative,
Mm,
and they leaned into it. They said, "Hey, like this is one of the reasons we liked working with you." And I think that that's so. As a creative, I think you have to understand the corporate side of just how
mm-hmm.
it works. There is going to be red tape. There's going to be things that you're going to have to understand before something goes to being posted. you have to be cognizant of certain things. You have to be cognizant of how things can make a brand look or not look.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that when you have that attitude, and like you said, me being a brand upon myself, I had to really think about that in the larger scheme of things. But I think that, again, because all the things I posted are very authentically myself, I don't really feel like I needed to switch up because I've only just been being myself. But I think
Mm-hmm.
to that same degree, you're aware, you're knowledgeable of certain things you would put on your personal, and certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and how that may or may not relate to where you're at. So some of those things I think you just know and you understand just by being in this space. As long as you have, it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're going to an Adidas release party, you're not gonna come up wearing Nike Air Maxes. It's
Yeah, yeah,
You can do what you want, obviously,
yeah.
but why would you want to do that? So I think because of the experience that I've had being in this space for a while, I
Mm-hmm.
think I understand that social media manager as a furry is 100% bought into StockX and what StockX is doing. So as long as I'm on the clock, that's where 100% of my energy is going. I work the weekends or my off time to make sure that when I do have those things that I want to post, that's not
Mm-hmm.
interfering with my ability to do what I need to do for work. So I think that that's also just an implicit understanding of, if you are a creative that wants to make that leap, understand that it's like a job, it's like school. Like, imagine if you just go home and do all your own work, but none of your schoolwork, you're going to fail your classes. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with a job. You can't be so hyper focused on what you're doing that you neglect your responsibilities to your job. So I think when you look at it in that very basic lens,
Mm-hmm.
it allows you to understand how you need to operate as an independent creative. So, like I said, my job is going to be first and foremost, because that's the thing that I'm employed to do. This is what I'm getting paid to do. So that's just how that should be. When I have my free time,
Mm-hmm.
and that time does come up, then I can dig into, hey, I want to do this, hey, I want to do that, and I
Mm-hmm.
can really kind of explore those things. But I think it's always just important that when you're managing yourself, or you're doing any type of work, that there is some bleed over, I guess, in the sense of it's in a similar space or similar industry or whatever the case may be. Just line it up early on to make sure that you're making the main thing the main thing. And I think that's, if there's anything I would want anyone being able to entrust me with, is to know, like, hey, I know that Tafuri is going to give me 100% when it's time for him to give me 100%. And as long as you're doing that, I feel like that's what becomes your calling card. So, like I said, I think I was lucky to be able to be in a position where, being a freelancer, being my own brand, doing my own thing, got the attention of people who are in that space. I had a working relationship as far as a creator, brand relationship with them as an ambassador, and then also
Mm-hmm.
as just doing independent ad hoc projects to help further, marketing efforts, and just do cool creative stuff together. So I think the transition to the inside, it didn't really feel as much like a transition, because it's like we've been working together for a while. So I kind of have a general lay of the land of how things are. But like I said, being coachable, you still learn. You learn how procedures work. You learn how brand operation works. You learn how brand marketing works. And those things help you, ironically enough, in your own mind, because then you're like, okay, there's certain things I maybe need to kind of adjust or change or fix. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say being being teachable, being coachable, and learning, instead of just thinking, oh yeah, I got this many followers, you can't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
Those people aren't going to go far, because it's like, if no one can tell you anything, then how are you going to grow past the point of understanding that you only have in that one moment? So,
Yeah.
the power of a thank you, being cool with people, all of that stuff goes a long way. So, to answer your question in short, I think that what it's really forced me to have to do is just compartmentalize. So I'm not going to be doing work that takes me away from being 100% from my job while I'm at my job. It just doesn't make sense to do. So I have to be more deliberate with my free time. So
Yeah. Sure.
when my day is over, because in this space, I'm sure social media happens even while we're sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I do have that time when I'm off, it's like that I need to be very discerning with where I put my time, how I batch create, how I do things,
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm not having to do that during time, my focus really needs to be somewhere else. So I think that's a key part of, if you're a creator that's looking to make that transition into corporate and you're trying to do content,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you have systems set up so you can do your best for your job. And then when you have your free time, whether that be the weekends or whatever may have you, afternoons and evenings, you
Mm-hmm.
get what you need to get done.
I like that. I like that, man. A lot of people would, I ain't gonna say a lot of people, but um, it tells a lot about your character that you're looking at this as not an opportunity to propel yourself, but to propel the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So like that tells a lot about you and your character and how you move. Um, but as far as moving into this role, what are some of your personal goals that you have?
I want, for me, I think that I just want to see the brand be a thought contributor in this space, but also a leader in other spaces. I think StockX has the very unique ability that they leverage data, and they leverage data in a
Mm-hmm.
way that's kind of changed. If you look at the resale market, it's really changed even the way that we appraise and value things. They treat sneakers like stocks. They treat collectibles, uh,
Mm-hmm.
all items that are mainstream. So Labubus, the crazy mischief boots that came and went, and nobody even talks about them anymore. Like, and I think that that's, as an engineer by trade and by degree, I really can appreciate data analysis. I think that it gives us concrete evidence and facts about buying patterns. It gives us understandings about things that most would just assume, like, oh, well, of course this thing sold out because this person wore it. We knew those things, right? But I think that we can now actually look at data and say, okay, this picture came out this day. And now the
Mm-hmm.
trades for this item have gone from just 100 over retail and now 5 to 600 over retail. So you can
Mm-hmm.
legitimately have real academic discourse or real data analytical discourse about why things happen the way that they do. Not only to mention that most people, when they're reselling things, what's the first app they open up? They're opening up StockX. They're opening up, apps that really give you that data in real time. And I love the
Mm-hmm.
fact that on StockX you have like the historical indexing, so you
Yeah.
can look back and like look at the plot, and you can actually really see a window view of like months to days to years of just seeing
Mm-hmm.
how the price of an item adjusts. And like I said, it's like a stock market app for sneakers. And I think that that change in understanding of sneakers as being assets, things that can that
Mm-hmm.
can appreciate and depreciate in value, is something that makes StockX very unique in how they approach it, at least from my perspective as a consumer. So I think that for me, in this role now, it's like I think that that stuff's cool, and I think that there are cool ways that we can have conversations
Mm-hmm.
around that data. So I think in my role, it's just like for myself, I play to my strengths. What are things that I do well or do a little bit better than others or my peers and my contemporaries? So I think in this role, I really want to see us lean into, things that make us great. Just like I
Mm-hmm.
think any social media manager would. You want to highlight the things that your brand does extremely well. And I think that in addition to that, just, showing up for community, being outside, people have trust and equity with a brand that they can actually connect with and talk to. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that those are things that, if you're making intentional steps to do the things that we do, that I think that those are really, really good moments. And those are things that you can stack and you can build to where before you know it, you have community, you have people that are willing to ride for
Mm-hmm.
you. And beyond just using you as a price guide, maybe now you become a epicenter of conversation around just data. I really feel like someone could probably write, and maybe someone already has. You could probably have a whole cultural discussion about
Uh-huh.
sneakers using StockX data and being able to pinpoint moments culturally in history
Yeah, yeah.
that explain why we see fluctuations and why certain things are cool. And shoot, I think that that's amazing. I think that that's really, really cool. So, again, I may be a little bit biased because, again, like I said, I'm an engineer and I like numbers. I like data. I feel like it tells a different story than just
Mm-hmm.
us just talking. But I think that that's the thing I want to play up about the brand is cool. Like it's not just a place where you can buy things. There's a treasure trove of information and so much stuff that you can really learn about how people feel about something in real time based off of
Mm-hmm.
what price it's trading at. And, and I think that those things are important. I mean, I think the most simple example I could give is, the untimely passing of Kobe Bryant. And then we saw what happened with his sneakers. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
with Virgil. So
Yep.
then, one could even create a thing where, do beloved collaborators, designers, athletes, is their merchandise or the things that they've created, is it doomed if it's very highly consumed in a mainstream space to go up in price on the
Mm-hmm.
secondary markets because you can no longer get it at retail because that person maybe is no longer at the helms anymore. So distribution changes and how the product is released changes. It's like there's so many conversations we can have, and StockX can be at the forefront of those conversations with data that shows why the context and the streets and how the streets view things. Now you
Mm-hmm.
have data that can actually show why what the streets are saying makes sense. And I think that the opportunity to work with a company that really puts numbers to narratives like that is fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I know that, like you said, speaking of the Kobe moment, and I feel
Mhm.
like right now we're literally in the midst of it, kind of like dying off, as in like you're finally being able to walk in and grab your pairs, and it's not like a huge hassle to get a pair. I've actually seen a couple of the Kobe Forces going on sale. Um, and I knew like right after that time, and we start seeing the Kobe's re-release and retro pro trolls and stuff like that. We seen how they shot up, how they you just hard. It was hard to get, and now that there's so many releases as far as Kobe's and the retros, and now I feel like there's a series pack for like every life story for these forces. I mean, I'm seeing Kobe forces that I didn't even know released. I just seen
Mhm.
a mint green pair, and I'm just like, when did those even release?
Mhm.
Um, and then we have there's a pack that they have coming out. You can see that, and then
Mhm.
to watch where it was at to see it now. It's just, it's kind of crazy, so I can only imagine seeing it on paper because I know that we seen Kobe's go for crazy prices. And now
Mhm.
you're seeing like below retail, so I can only imagine what that StockX, data would look like when it comes to Kobe's.
And it's like with anything, there's data, there's things that you can look at and you can articulate. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's why there's a whole field of data scientists, right? So people that make it their life's work to understand data, to clean it, to look at it, to make sure that it's appropriate and what it should be. It has
Mm-hmm.
integrity. That's why data integrity, that word means something. So I think that from where I sit with it, I think that scarcity, supply and demand, like these are all economic forces that really create, you limit the supply, you increase the demand. And these are all
Mm-hmm.
forces that exist and essentially create the dynamics that we see in buyer and consumer behavior. But I also think that because now sneakers are so ubiquitously available, all brands are stepping and firing on all cylinders. Like Puma's got stuff, Adidas got stuff, Saucony's got
Mm-hmm.
stuff, Nike's got stuff, Jordan's got stuff, Converse has got stuff. So now I've said this many a times, I think we're entering like a sneaker renaissance, like another golden age of sneakers where
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to buy, you could buy. And I think that
Yep.
for some that got into the space primarily just for money making and resale purposes, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't going to be a fun time for you because you're not going to be able to go and load your trunk up with 20, 30 pairs of a shoe and you're making 100 to 150 profit margin off top of each of the shoes that you just bought. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think that the hyper consumerism that we saw during COVID is coming down. And
Yeah.
because that's now coming down, I think that you have people that are more so buying out of need and necessity, not
Mm-hmm.
just out of gluttony. So, yeah, as a sneakerhead, you're going to have a lot of sneakers. But I think if you talk to most collectors, they will tell you, I'll see stuff I like every day. But there's
Mm-hmm.
certain things I'm just not really going to invest in. Like I could see a real fire pair of Deodoras or
Mm-hmm.
a real fire pair of Asics. probably not gonna buy it. And that's okay, because not that I hate Asics or hate any other brand I just named. It's just you have stuff that looks cool, and then there's stuff that just speaks to you uniquely as a collector or as a person that puts fits together, and
Yeah.
you'll do that. I mean, I was one of the few that was like, I really wasn't super warm on the Awake 5. I saw it in person, meaning the
Mm-hmm.
pink pair. I saw it
Yeah.
in person. I was like, okay, it's cool. I could put some outfits together with it. I think it's a tough shoe. I like how they reimagined it, so to speak, and put the A on the netting. But
Okay.
I think that those things combined with what I have in my wardrobe too. I don't carry a lot of pink, so like when I look at stuff like that, it's like I don't want to have to go up, uphaul my whole closet to go get some
Mm-hmm.
pink, when it's like the only time I'm really gonna be wearing this pink is with this outfit,
Yes.
because I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
real avid pink wearer like that. So I think that those are the thought processes that can go through people's minds. So I think, and for what it's worth, I think when you have discourse about sneakers on places like Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else, I think it's really important to remember that, listen, it's your money. My financial future is not connected to whether you want to buy a pair of these Awake Fives or not. So,
Mm-hmm.
like what you like, buy what you buy, get fly with what you buy. I would hope that that's what you would intend to do, not just have a pair of sneakers sitting in
Mm-hmm.
a glass box and you just breathing on the glass box every day. Like, sneakers are meant to be worn. They're meant to be enjoyed. I think that
Yeah.
that's why I love putting together fits, because it's like, why would you buy a shoe just for it to sit in a box, just to say that you have it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
part of that is just wear that stuff out, man. Go kick some dirt. Well, don't do that in certain shoes, but go outside and just have fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of the fun of wearing and having sneakers. All your sneakers should have a story or something that you enjoy about them. Like, hey, I saw this commercial and I thought these were so cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I want to talk about the conversations that we have within the space, social media, Instagram, X, Twitter, whichever social media platform you guys use. I spoke on this on the last episode, and I feel like when we're having these conversations, most recently we've had what is a sneakerhead, and what is streetwear, what do you consider streetwear,
mhm,
and I feel like these conversations will go a lot better if we viewed it as what it is, personal experiences and opinions.
mhm,
Because we haven't came together as a collective and was like, hey, this is street culture. This is a sneakerhead, so everybody's perception and perspective all, you know, was what they come up with of what a sneakerhead is of or what streetwear is. This might have been popping in your region, but not popping in my region. So I don't think it's streetwear, but I think this is streetwear. And I just feel like if we came to that common ground of like, all right, oh, you thought this was street culture? Well, why is that street culture to you? Oh, because of this. Ah, okay, cool. Well, in my city, in my hood, this is what we wore. This is why it's street culture to me, or this is why it's
mhm.
streetwear to me. But I say that to say this: what is your opinion on your personal experience, personal opinion on streetwear, and what makes a certain brand or clothing streetwear?
Well, the crazy thing about it is the word streetwear in itself was a derogatory way to classify what we wear. Like, this will be classified as streetwear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, even if you look back at the genesis of denim, like, denim was a workwear thing. Like, you were a blue collar worker if you
Mm-hmm.
wore denim. It wasn't looked at favorably or fashionable. But what I think the larger heritage fashion houses started to realize is that because streetwear, as they dubbed it, was so disruptive, you couldn't ignore it. Like, it was trendy. It was stuff that was the language of the newer generations that are coming out. I mean, if you look at
Mm-hmm.
Saint Laurent, if you look at a lot of these other heritage brands, there's a reason that a lot of them look like, oh, it looks like a Jordan just without the Jordan branding, because these brands realize how iconic these silhouettes are,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to connect with a demographic, but they're trying to pull them into what they do really well, which is, at the end of the day, they sell an experience. They sell something. Like, when you buy Louis Vuitton, like, the whole purpose of buying Louis is because I think that I'm unique. This is a piece that not everybody can afford. Same with Balenciaga, same with a lot of other things. So when you see companies like Balenciaga now doing streetwear, it's interesting because it's counterintuitive to why that distinction was even made. But I think it's proof positive of the fact that they're noticing that the ways of old, where you gotta be wearing, designer head to toe, and that's like the pinnacle of your existence. Whereas like, I could wear a Pata jersey, I could wear some ripped jeans, and I could wear a pair of Nikes, and that fit will go on the internet and be popular and start a firestorm. And now I'm looked at as a savant. I mean, we went through this 2 or 3 summers ago, where everybody was really 4 summers ago. Really, it was like you had people just wearing vintage NASCAR tees, pair of E's, Nucks, and that was the uniform for the summer. And that was the mainstream uniform for the summer. Now it's loafers. So loafers, some sort of dress trouser, light top. And again, if this is how you dress, I'm not attacking you, but I am saying that there's a reason that works. And it works because the large populace of people like that look. And this is why, like I said, when you talk about being into fashion, it's like I don't necessarily have to put the clothes on to respect the fact that it's different. It's different than how I may express myself, but it still has a place. So I think these discourses and stuff like that sometimes are, as I've said in many spaces before, clout chaser competitions to say, hey, I'm the go-to person on all things this or all things that. Yeah. And that just goes against just learning. You've been in a space long enough, you start to realize that the younger generation always moves the needle for what's going to be next up. So me being a guy in his early 30s, how I collected, how I buy, how I exist, how I interact with culture is different intrinsically than how a person who's just coming into the space is looking at it. I can sit there and say, oh my God, you don't like Jordan 4s? Which isn't true. This generation does love Jordan 4s. Look at what happened with the Black Hat 4 and SB 4. But let's just say hypothetically, that generation doesn't like 4s. I'm not going to get through to them by telling them they're dumb for not liking Air Jordan 4s. That just really needs a conversation. And I've been guilty of it too, because I think we all love sneakers and we feel that our experience with sneakers should be everyone's experience with sneakers. But maturity and just understanding, a rejection of something you like is not an indication of whether that thing is valid or not. It's just that's not that person's cup of tea. Like there was a contingent of people that believed that the Yachty Air Force One, the Lucky Green specifically, was sneaker of the year last year. Yeah. Totally within your right to have that opinion. As someone that's seen an Air Force One, seen many Air Force Ones over my lifetime, it was my opinion that it was definitely, I could see someone making it a top 10 shoe of the year. And I think that it's valid because it was Yachty's answer to people saying that the navy blue and white shoe he originally came out with was too plain. But to me, there were other shoes that I felt from a storytelling perspective, popularity, and what it was. And then I'm biased too. A lot of my collection is Jordans. So I do look at Jordan favorably, but I am also objective enough to see, kind of like voting for an MVP award in the NBA. It's like you have to be able to look and make certain types of determinations of the fact that that shoe performed at a level that we didn't expect. Like, I think that was Jay Tips' calling card when he was a Saucony, right? It's these shoes should not be moving this way because nobody was really, I won't say nobody, but the large mainstream audience was not really gravitating towards Saucony. And that was the power of the gravitational pull of how influential Jay Tips was. And then on top of that, how good he was at mastering and making color his own design language. So I think when you put all of that stuff together, to just answer the question on the head directly, I think the discourse at many times is hosted by people that have very limited understandings of the fashion space. I think most have these conversations with it in mind, what they hear through mainstream, and they make the false equivalency that what's happening in mainstream defines what happens in other channels versus people who are outside that are going to events that are actually of and in industry. Those conversations are completely different. So what you think is popular, because what mainstream media tells you is popular versus what, like we talked about earlier, the numbers would tell you, and what's popular in other places. Like those are the types of things that will inform and teach you, hey, this is why we need to go this direction, we need to go that direction, and we need to understand streetwear through a different lens. So I think that I agree with you. If we're just sharing opinions, then let's just share opinions. Like I
Yeah.
think that there's a thing where, there comes a point where if you like it, I love it. If I may not necessarily like those pants you got on, but hey, you
Hmm.
like it, I love it. Sneaker Bay doing the whole stuff about white socks with black shoes. Hey, listen, that's how you want to rock. You like it, I love it. I think that there's nothing wrong with social media being what it is, which is a whole bunch of people expressing opinions. That's all
Mm,
social media is. A whole bunch of people at the same time expressing opinions. That's all it ever is.
for
But
sure.
I think that opinions in themselves should not always be, because a large percentage of people hold an opinion, it makes it a fact. That's a false equivalency. It just means that is a prevailing ideology amongst a group of people.
I
Same
like
reason
that.
why folks will say, oh, everybody thinks Michael Jordan's the GOAT. And a group of people may feel like LeBron is. Well,
Hmm.
if I'm in a room of 100 people and let's say 70 believe that MJ's the GOAT and 30 believe that LeBron is the GOAT, and the GOAT itself, although we try to, the debate, the argument is based on in real life accomplishments, is a very subjective award. It's a very
Hmm.
subjective title. So it depends on who you're talking to. There's multiple arguments. To me, a fact is something that whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, it's true. If I look in the sky
Uh-huh.
and the sky is blue all of those days,
Yep.
that's a fact.
Yep.
If I have to gather a whole bunch of people, say, what does the sky look like to you? And it says, oh, it could be blue, could be yellow, could be green, then that's not a
Hmm.
fact. And I think that we have to, if we approach conversations to your point that way, people don't get mad. Folks don't start turning their Twitter fingers on each other, or Instagram, social media fingers, whatever, on each other. And life
Yeah.
is able to go on. It's like, man, what you eat don't make me go to the bathroom, bro. Like it's nothing. It's not, I promise. Like
Yeah.
you think that the shoe, whatever shoe you want to name, you think that's the greatest shoe of all time. Hey, listen, that is an opinion and you were entitled to it.
Yep. Yep.
Shouts
Yep.
out to you for having an opinion.
I like it. I like it, man. So as we close out the episode, I do got one more question, and I like to ask this at the end of the episode. As far as your legacy and for your brand, when it's all said and done, what do you want your brand to represent, and what legacy do you want to leave behind?
I think I want my legacy to be, I was a guy that walked it like he talked it.
Mm,
So I love sneakers. I love fashion. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, being black in America, doing all the things and experiencing all the things from a heritage perspective that we've had to experience, and we've
yeah.
still found ways to embolden and to write culture. I feel honored many a times that I'm able to experience that in this skin, in this body, in this identity. So I think for me, I want people to look at me as someone that just, I love the culture. I love doing this stuff. It's honestly in me. It's not on me. I
Yeah.
don't wear it. I really take it with me wherever I go. And
Hmm.
I think the legacy I want to leave behind is just, you know, the play don't care who make it. Just make the play. Just do what you need to do. Just win. Like you know what I'm saying? Like the Raiders say, just win, baby. Like that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
you gotta win. And winning is not glamorous. It's not fun. There's gonna be days you're gonna have to go to the lab and you're
Yep.
gonna have to work on it, and you're gonna do it 100 times, and you think, okay, I got it right this time, and it doesn't work. And I think winners are just losers that never quit. Because what's the antithesis of winning? You lost. You didn't do something. And
Yeah.
being, to me, a loser, not saying it in a label type of way, but losing the opportunity to get something, it can do one of two things. It can either discourage you or it'll motivate you. So a lot of times I've heard a lot of no's. Heard a lot of people
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I don't know if I like, how you're approaching this, and I don't think that that's going to work." And I had the boldness and the audacity to try. And because I
Mm-hmm.
tried and because I did things and I was consistent and I didn't give up, I kept knocking at the door because I figured somebody gonna just be tired of me knocking out here and they're gonna have to
Somebody
answer.
gonna have that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I think so that's what I really want my legacy to be, that, obviously I'm educated. I didn't have to choose and pick a lane. I
Yeah.
think sometimes people look at what, when you're into sneakers or streetwear, it's like there's a certain, you know, je ne sais quoi about you, for lack of a better word. There's a certain attitude or energy or aura that you have. And I hate that.
Yeah.
I think that the clothes don't define character. Actions define character. Who you are defines how people experience you, deal with you, hang out with you, all that
Mm-hmm.
other type of stuff. So how I dress is not an expression of what my moral code, compass, or standard is. And I think that
Yeah.
that's an antiquated idea that needs to be done away with very soon. But I want to your point of my legacy was that he was educated. He loved sneakers. He loved doing what he did. He brought 100% of his authentic self everywhere that he went. And he was good at what he did, but he was humble. He was always willing to learn. He was always willing to be a bridge builder for others, figure out ways to help other people reach their goals or get close to them,
Mm-hmm.
whatever they wanted to do. And he did it his way. My way isn't everyone's way, and that's okay. You might like ginger tea. I'm Earl Grey. Man, I'm sorry. It's like I'm peppermint, I'm chamomile, I'm whatever tea I want to be.
Yeah.
But I think that's I exist within that space because I know that I'll find my tribe eventually. I'll find my village eventually. And because I had that attitude, now I can sit in the positions I'm in the rooms I'm in, and say,
Mm-hmm.
because I was authentically me, now I'm here.
I like it, man. I like it, man. So we'll get into the showcase shoe. What you got to show us?
So I made big news.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an opportunity to get something that was a grail of mine. And it's funny enough, the last episode I was on, I told you
Mm-hmm.
guys this was a grail shoe for me. And I ended up finally getting a pair of off-white
Yeah.
Chicago's. And it took me a long time to be able to find these, to track these down. I
Mm-hmm.
love them. I've worn them an unhealthy amount. I've swapped the laces out.
Mm-hmm.
I look for any excuse and opportunity to wear these. I love this shoe. But I think the reason why it's my showcase shoe is because there was a time where I always look at this shoe and it reminds me of the me before I had this shoe, and how much of a thrill there is in the chase of finding something and finally getting something that you really,
Mm-hmm.
really. So, I wore this shoe to Philly. And when I was up there this past weekend for the Roots picnic, and I was just crazy putting it on the floor, putting it together with outfits. And I'm like, I actually own this shoe now. So what it taught me is that when you reach a goal, you have to recalibrate. So
Mm-hmm.
now you have it. So what's going to be the next thing? And the next thing might just be, it may not be a physical thing anymore. It's just like, hey, like, let's go get that other big thing on the list that we're looking for. Next thing I need is a
Mm-hmm.
pair of Yeezy 2s, some platinums or some solars. I feel like that's the next thing I want. But looking at this shoe, it's a testament to Virgil's legacy. It's deconstructed, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is just representative of just, our lives are a building block. It's a process of us
Mm-hmm.
getting from point A to point B. And that's not always a straight line. It's a line that you may draw. You got to white out a little bit. You got to do a down and back to go get back on the path. But when you get there, all the textures, all the colors, all the things that are on this shoe are representative of all the things you went through to get what you actually want. So for me, I love this shoe. We'll never get rid of it. I don't care if this whole toe box gets dirty, the whole shoe gets beat up. This for me was like a moment where I got the job at StockX, and I was
Mm-hmm.
lucky enough to, around that same time, also get some, good brand deals to come through.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? You earned it, brother. You stuck with it. You did what you needed to do. I had an opportunity to pull the trigger and buy. I bought, and I regret nothing. Shouts out to my boy John, because he actually gave me the nudge, because I was like, I don't know, is it the right time? He's like, man, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended. And I'm so glad that I listened and did it. So like, yeah, this was probably my top sneaker moment of this year, being able to have this shoe. It still doesn't feel real to me, but I
Mm-hmm.
love it. This is my showcase shoe. This was something that meant something to me when this came in the
I like
mail.
it, man.
Put it together. So shouts
Yeah.
out to it.
I like it, man. Like Jay said, man, they're more than shoes or stories, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of people fail to know or acknowledge, that the ton of shoes aren't just a ton of shoes. There's a lot behind that, man. There's a lot behind a collector being a collector, a sneakerhead being a sneakerhead, or whatever you want to call it in today's time. But there's a lot behind it. There's more than just a ton of shoes. There's a lot of stories they have to tell. There's a lot of reasons why they do what they do, or why this pair matters, why you have this many pairs. So they're more than sneakers, for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely stories. Every pair, like you said, every pair's got a story.
Yeah. What I wanted to showcase was they've been doing a lot of, well, not this brand in itself, but the group behind it, the Whitaker group. I actually have two showcase shoe, which is the 12s that we got. There was a lot of movement going around, a lot of noise going around once these released, and I felt like these got overlooked. And we talk about something being repeated. And one of the main things when we talk about Mama Near collabs, or just the Whitaker Group collabs in general, we see this color. And they put it on pretty much anything they collab with.
Yeah.
And that's true. But also, how many times have we seen the Texas 12s? How many times have we seen the black cement 3s? How many times have we seen the white cement green? Like, the list goes on, and every single time the shoe does well. Every single time, it's breaking news. It'll never get to the point where the bread's releasing again. No matter how many times the release is going to be, not breaking news. It's going to be this classic. This is going to release again. And I say that because the push to change their design language doesn't make sense. Because if it works, why are you changing it?
Works.
If it works, it works, and there are some shoes that are better than the others. But overall, I have yet to see this colorway fail, when it comes to just the look of the overall shoe, So, like, I showcase these pairs just because I feel like they didn't get the exposure or the nod that they should have. I mean, it's a retro 12, that wine or that Bordeaux colorway, Bordeaux, whatever, however you want to pronounce it. But yeah, I feel like this is my showcase shoe just because these didn't get the love that they should have got. I felt personally when they released.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, design language is everything. I mean, we don't get mad at UNC for giving us themed Jordans and UNC colors every single time. So, I look at it just like I'm on year as an institution, and they're gonna keep
that's their language.
Yeah, that's their language. That's their color palette. That's what they do. But I think it's just like you said. I think that people look at the first three and everything that kind of came after it to say, like, I ain't tired of the same thing. It's like, well, I mean, people could say the same thing about black and red Jordans. Like, you ain't tired of all of the, like, so,
black.
you get, like you said, it's design language. It works. Like, I mean, even the Pegasus premiums that they just had come out, very, very clean shoe, amazing shoe. I think that it fits the silhouette really well. You got a white pair, you have a black pair. As far as the base, white and black. But I mean, I think it's, again, everything isn't for everybody. So you may have liked the Dusk 5s, but you didn't like the Dawns for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You're totally entitled to that opinion. I think it's just, I think everyone just wants to have that seat at the table so bad to be able to talk about, like, this is what we need to do. It's like, dude, that's not what this community was built upon. You throw a Jordan head in a room with a full bunch of people that love Saucony and Asics, He'll be fighting for his life in there because they don't speak the same language. It's like they know about Jordans, but that's not their bag for real. So I think it's like you said, we got to get back to those things of this is my opinion, you know. So, and I think that, you know, because people don't always show up authentically online, that's what makes having an opinion sometimes difficult. So it's like if you're always just picking the opposite side, or you're always being a contrarian.
Yeah.
You know, people don't really care to hear that. It's like, okay, man, like you're just, okay, everybody loves this shoe and you got to be the one to say, you know, there's just something about it. Yeah. It's like, okay, bro, like everybody, you know, for the most part, the general sentiment of something is good. It's like, it's like Lex Luthor and Superman. It's like everybody thinks Superman's cool and you're just like, something about that guy just rubs me the wrong way. It's, what do we look at Lex Luthor like? We look at him like a hater, like a real life rich hater. Like that's really what it boils down to. So I think we just got to get back to, like you said, get back to the roots of what needs to be, which is buy what you like, man.
I like it, man. Well, once again, man, I appreciate you, you know, taking time out your day, hopping on the Soul Brother podcast. But before you go, any closing remarks?
I would just say for anybody that's out there, when you think that you want to quit, don't. I've been there. I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to really want help. And sometimes help is not always necessarily in front of you telling you what to do. In those moments, learn to trust yourself. Learn to grow in your own creative vision. And if none of those things work, my DMs are always open. So I'm TaylorMadeGQ on all platforms. I said that if I was given the opportunity and I was given the platform and the chance to do the things that I'm able to have been doing, I would, you know, give advice and encouragement wherever I could. So feel free to reach out to me on socials. I'm not weird. I'm not Hollywood. I won't ignore your message. If I don't get back to you, it's because Instagram don't want me to be great and they sent your message to my request box. But the minute I have a chance to check it, I will go through and I will get back with you because I think that that's what social media is about. Social precedes media. And I think that the goal is just to be good humans. So be a good human, be kind to yourself, be graceful. At the end of the day, that's all you can really do to be able to make it through this thing called life with some sort of sanity intact, but also just remember all this stuff happens for your betterment and your positivity. You know, at some point, those trials lead to, you know, triumphs. And I think that that's what my journey has been. It's been, you know, it's not been all happy. It's not always been great.
Yeah.
You know, but I stuck with it and that's why I'm here.
I like it, man. And that's where we're going to end it, guys. As I always say, love, peace, and sneakers.
Retro 7s, retro 3s, metallic silver, retro 11, sitting on freeze. They got soul. Yeah. Soul Brothers.